Let me reveal to you, dear reader, a truth that transcends mere habit or opinion. It is a truth validated not only by the sages of old, but now illuminated by the cold precision of neuroscience, that within the folds of your very brain lies a compass, a mechanism sculpted by time itself, which yearns not passively but insistently for meaning. This is not a poetic metaphor, but a scientific fact, and it demands your understanding. For the man who walks without understanding the forces that govern his very thoughts is as blind as the horse that toils the field without knowing the fruit of its labor. Science now confirms what the most profound philosophers and mystics have long suspected. When one engages in acts aligned with purpose, whether it be raising a family, creating a symphony, tending to the sick, or building a business that serves mankind, a region deep in the brain called the default mode network lights up. This is not the region of idle thought, as once supposed, but of self-reflection, future planning, and moral judgment. In other words, it is the seat of inner narrative, the story we tell ourselves about who we are and why we exist. And if that story is infused with purpose, this network becomes more coherent, more integrated, and more active. I say to you, learn from Viktor Frankl, who in the wretched confines of a Nazi concentration camp discovered the most exalted of human truths, that man can endure anyhow if he possesses a strong enough why. He observed that those who had a purpose, be it reuniting with loved ones, completing unfinished work, or simply bearing suffering with dignity, were far more likely to survive. His revelations have since been echoed by modern neuroscientists who have found that people with a clear sense of meaning exhibit healthier brain activity, more stable neurotransmitter levels, and even lower markers of inflammation in the body. Let us consider the neurotransmitter dopamine. The layman associates it with pleasure, but the wise man sees it as the molecule of pursuit. Neuroscience shows us that dopamine is not a reward for attainment, but an encouragement for movement towards something that matters. When your actions are imbued with purpose, dopamine flows not just when you succeed, but even as you strive. Thus, the very architecture of your brain conspires to reward you for chasing meaning, not merely comfort or ease. And what of those who drift without aim, who live for entertainment, distraction, or short-term gain? Examine their neural patterns, and you shall find disorder and fragmentation. The default mode network becomes noisy, confused, and disjointed. These are the minds prone to anxiety, depression, and self-loathing, not because they lack success or possessions, but because they lack coherence. They have no story, no narrative, no reason. They wake up not to create, but to consume, not to give, but to take. And so the brain, sensing this void, rebels. You may ask, then, how is this meaning discovered? The ancient Stoics would answer that it lies in living according to nature, by aligning one's actions with reason, virtue, and service to others. Neuroscience, surprisingly, says the same. Studies show that acts of altruism and generosity activate reward centers in the brain more consistently and powerfully than selfish pleasures. The man who gives of himself in pursuit of something larger, whether that be justice, beauty, truth, or love, finds his brain awash in purpose-fueled neurotransmitters. These are not pious superstitions. They are measurable facts. Let me call to the witness stand the example of Malala Yousafzai. Shot in the head for pursuing education under tyranny, she rose not with bitterness, but with clarity of purpose. Her brain, broken physically, was yet whole in spirit. Neuroscientific studies of trauma survivors show that those who recover most fully often do so by creating meaning out of their suffering. They do not ask, "Why me?" but rather, "What shall I do with this?" Purpose transforms pain into fuel. Her recovery and worldwide advocacy are not miracles. They are the result of aligning action with meaning. And neuroscience shows us how such alignment reshapes the very structure of the brain. Even in literature, from Dostoevsky's Prisoners to Steinbeck's Drifters, we see that those without meaning descend into despair, while those with purpose rise even in chains. The neurobiology of this is plain. Purpose gives coherence to chaos. It transforms scattered neurons into symphonies of intention. The man who possesses purpose may bend but does not break, for he has reason to endure. But do not mistake purpose for passion. Passion is often fleeting, unstable, and rooted in desire. Purpose is deeper. It is grounded in service, in vision, in legacy. It is what you are willing to suffer for, not what you merely enjoy. Neuroscience confirms that purpose involves the long-term integration of identity, values, and action, a far more complex and stable architecture than the fire of temporary passion. Now, I tell you this not to impress you with the findings of science, but to impress upon you your responsibility. You are the steward of a miraculous machine, a brain evolved not for passivity, but for purpose. The universe itself may be silent on your destiny, but your brain is not. It is whispering to you in every moment of restlessness and every flicker of curiosity that you were made for more. So write your vision, speak your intention, act as if your days matter, for they do. Do not let the noise of the world drown out the inner signal that says you are here to build, to serve, to love, to create. And when your days grow dim and your strength falters, know this: the man who lives by purpose lives beyond his years, etched into the neural fabric of others, a legacy not of wealth or fame, but of impact. Science has finally caught up with the ancient wisdom that meaning is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Your brain demands it, your soul craves it, and your life will wither without it. Therefore, begin. Begin, I say, with ruthless clarity. Do not wait for some thunderous revelation to bestow meaning upon you. The heavens do not shout, but the soul whispers. Listen. What do you do that leaves you feeling more whole, not more hollow? What activity, what service, what creation makes time vanish and your heart beat stronger? For these are the clues, the fingerprints of purpose upon your psyche. And the mind, yes, the very flesh of your thoughts, rewards this direction with clarity, energy, and peace. And understand this: it is not grandiosity that defines purpose, it is alignment. A humble farmer tending his fields with love and legacy in his heart can possess more purpose than a wealthy executive chasing empty digits on a screen. Neuroscience has no preference for titles or trophies. It responds to integrity, consistency, and emotional investment. When you bring the fullness of your attention and intention to your work, however modest, your brain records that as meaning. It amplifies your motivation, sharpens your focus, and increases your resilience. Let us not forget the example of Helen Keller. Born into a world without sight or sound, she found her purpose in bringing light to others lost in darkness. Her brain, rewired through fierce effort and purposeful education, became a monument not to limitation but to liberation. And this is the miracle of purpose. It reshapes the brain not metaphorically but literally. Neuroplasticity, that divine gift of the brain to change itself, is most powerfully activated when driven by purpose. In the neurons grow stronger connections, the circuits become more efficient, the body follows. The man or woman who moves in the direction of purpose becomes biologically more capable of achieving it. And so we arrive at the practical necessity: you must choose. For in the absence of a chosen purpose, the world will choose for you. It will seduce you with distractions, bribe you with comforts, and imprison you in mediocrity. And while your brain, this magnificent organ of potential, was forged to navigate complexity, it cannot operate in a vacuum of intention. It will falter. It will degenerate. But given a goal, a vision, a mission, you become a force of nature. I tell you, the greatest tragedy is not failure, but drift. A man without purpose is like a ship without a rudder. He may sail, but he arrives nowhere. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, said that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And if your thoughts are saturated with purpose, your soul reflects strength, serenity, and unshakable resolve. Modern psychology, too, now echoes this, with research showing that purpose reduces stress responses, enhances immune function, and lengthens life. The man who lives for an ideal, a cause, or a higher power flows with the current of life. Now, if you fear you are too lost, too late, or too damaged to discover your purpose, dismiss that lie at once. The brain never stops changing. The heart never stops longing. The soul never stops reaching. Read the works of Nelson Mandela, who discovered deeper purpose not in the halls of power, but in the shadows of prison. Study the writings of Maya Angelou, who transmuted trauma into triumph through language and love. Observe the lives of countless unsung heroes who rise each day to care for others, to build communities, to teach, to heal, to defend. Their purpose is not always praised, but it is felt, and their brains, like yours, reflect that purpose in every synapse. Therefore, begin today. Reflect with courage. Ask yourself not what you want to feel, but what you are willing to fight for. That is the path. Journal your thoughts. Observe your energies. Test your convictions in action. Make mistakes, but make them with boldness. Purpose is not found in theory, it is forged in fire. Commit to something larger than your comfort, and your fears will diminish. Commit to someone beyond yourself, and you will grow beyond your limit. And remember this always: no truth that is not lived is real. Neuroscience may reveal the machinery of meaning, but only you can power it. Psychology may explain your motives, but only you can direct them. Philosophy may shine the light of reason, but only you can walk the path. So rise, not because the world demands it, but because your soul is waiting. Purpose is not a question to be answered, it is a life to be lived. And your brain, that miracle of cosmic architecture, has been waiting your whole life for you to claim your place, not merely as a thinker or a doer, but as a builder of meaning, a bringer of light, and a seeker of truth. Go now. Act as if it matters, for it does. And as you act, act with the fierce determination of one who knows the universe itself is silent until you speak your mission into it. Do not wait for ideal conditions. The man who waits for the storm to pass never plants, and therefore never reaps. Action guided by purpose breeds clarity, but inaction breeds doubt and decay. Take the first step toward what stirs your soul, and the path will begin to illuminate. That is not superstition. It is neural commitment. The moment you make a conscious decision, your brain begins to rewire itself to support that decision. The prefrontal cortex engages, dopamine levels rise, systems synchronize. The mind, once scattered by indecision, becomes a blade of singular force. Do not mistake this for comfort. Purpose will demand your energy, your discipline, your very identity. It will strip away distractions and expose the falsehoods you have clung to. It will challenge your ego, for the man with purpose must often relinquish the applause of the crowd for the quiet certainty of inner alignment. But oh, the reward! The man who wakes with purpose does not dread the morning, for he is pulled forward by vision, not pushed by fear. He does not ask, must I work, but how can I serve today? And this, again, neuroscience affirms those who feel their work is meaningful experience less burnout, less depression, and greater satisfaction, not because their labor is easy, but because it matters. Think of Beethoven, who wrote his greatest symphonies after he went deaf. He could no longer hear the applause, but he could still hear the calling. His brain, stripped of one sense, amplified the others, and his spirit, aligned with purpose, transcended limitation. Such is the power of a mind in harmony with meaning. It breaks rules, defies fate, and reshapes the future. Or take the case of neuroscientist Dr. Lisa Miller, who found that spiritual purpose reduces the brain's tendency toward rumination and despair. In scans of those who practiced a life of transcendent meaning, whether religious or deeply philosophical, she discovered greater thickness in the cortex and less hyperactivity in fear-based regions of the brain. This is biology, confirming what the prophets long preached. The man connected to a higher purpose is protected from the lower chaos. So if you feel lost, begin by serving. That is the most ancient and reliable gateway to meaning. Serve a cause, serve your neighbor, serve the vision that flickers in your mind when all else goes quiet. Purpose is not found in the mirror, but in the field, the hospital, the classroom, the studio, the street. It is found wherever you pour your soul into something that leaves the world more whole than you found it. And while we speak of soul, understand this too. The brain is not separate from the spirit. It is the vessel of it. When we pursue purpose, we do not merely light up regions of the brain. We awaken the very essence of our humanity. We rise from the animal to the divine. We begin to live a life worthy of our breath. Let me leave you with the words of Leo Tolstoy, who after a life of wealth and fame found his soul in torment. He asked himself, is there any meaning in my life that the inevitable death awaiting me does not destroy? His answer did not come in philosophy alone, but in the simple life of a peasant who rose each day to feed his family and love his God. Tolstoy saw that purpose is not the invention of the elite or the brilliant. It is the inheritance of every man who lives with intention, humility, and love. And so, the science is clear. The soul is ready. The question is not whether purpose exists, it is whether you will have the courage to live it. Now go, and do not look back. The mind you possess is no idle organ. It is the tool of destiny. Direct it, train it, feed it with vision, and fortify it with action. Align every thought, every choice, and every breath with that sacred question, what is the work that only I can do? Then do it relentlessly, joyfully, and fearlessly, for you were not made for drifting. You were made to move mountains. And if you would move mountains, you must first move yourself. Do not expect the world to align with your purpose until your own thoughts do. Discipline your mind as a general drills his troops. Sharpen it, strengthen it, unify it. Every thought that whispers doubt, that tempts you with ease or distracts you with trivial pleasure must be called to account. For the man with purpose does not entertain weakness. He transforms it. He does not indulge confusion. He clarifies it through persistent action. You must think with the fire of Marcus Garvey, who envisioned a global awakening when others saw only chains. He knew that to awaken the mind of a people, you must first awaken the fire within yourself. Neuroscience now confirms that visioning, clearly imagining your goal, repeatedly and emotionally strengthens the neural pathways between your prefrontal cortex and your limbic system. This means your thoughts gain the power to command your emotions and not the other way around. Visualization is not fantasy. It is rehearsal. It is neurotraining for destiny. And destiny, let us be clear, is not handed out. It is seized. Every man is given the same 24 hours, the same fire in the belly, the same miracle of breath and blood. The difference lies in the clarity of vision and the courage of action. That is why the man of purpose becomes magnetic. His energy, his words, his bearing, they all declare that he is building something and others follow because the human spirit hungers to be part of something greater than itself. Let us recall Jane Goodall, who ventured into the wild with no formal training in science, only a profound love of life. She was laughed at, but her passion-forged method, her sincerity compelled respect, and her purpose redrew the maps of both science and empathy. Today, her brain, her life, her legacy are testimonies to what happens when one aligns every thought, every action, every hour with their inner call. The brain in such cases becomes not only sharper, it becomes luminous. But even more profound than the discovery of purpose is its daily defense. You must guard it, you must nurture it, for the world will try to steal it. Every advertisement, every idle conversation, every digital distraction is a thief in the night, whispering, forget your mission, come be comfortable, come be entertained. And if you fall prey to these whispers, you will wake one day not merely tired, but lost. Your brain will no longer echo with vision. It will buzz with noise. And the tragedy is that you will have done it to yourself. So build a fortress around your purpose. Begin each day in silence. Reconnect with your vision. Remind yourself not of what is easy, but of what is necessary. Establish rituals that sharpen your intention, journaling, reading, reflection. Feed your mind the words of those who walked the path before you, Emerson, who told us to trust the still, small voice within. Seneca, who reminded us that life is long if we know how to use it. James Allen, who declared that a man is literally what he thinks. And surround yourself not with those who mock purpose, but with those who breathe it. Iron sharpens iron. Your mind becomes like those around it. Neuroscience speaks of mirror neurons, those miraculous cells that fire not only when we act, but when we observe others acting. If you surround yourself with the aimless, your brain mimics their drift. But if you walk with the driven, the disciplined, the visionary, your very biology begins to change. You rise by association. And lastly, make peace with sacrifice. You cannot live for purpose and live like everyone else. You must say no more often than yes. You must embrace discomfort, delay gratification, and sometimes walk alone. But the reward is immortality, not in the body, but in impact. Purpose leaves a trail. It echoes in the lives touched, the minds awakened, the hearts stirred. And when your days draw to a close and the fire dims, you will not ask, was I rich? Was I famous? You will ask, did I live the life I was meant to live? And your brain, your heart, your soul will answer, not in words, but in peace. This is the science of meaning. This is the truth our ancestors intuited and our instruments now prove. You were born to find your purpose, and when you do, the universe within you aligns, not with noise, but with power, not with confusion, but with clarity. So I leave you with one final charge. Act now, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Choose today to live on purpose. Decide, declare, and begin. For the miracle is not that purpose exists. The miracle is that it has been waiting for you all along. And now that you know it waits for you, what excuse remains? Shall you tell yourself you are not ready, that your circumstances must first align, that the world must give you permission? No. These are the lies that mediocrity whispers to keep you from your destiny. Great men and women have risen from worse, poverty, war, abandonment, disease, yet their fire burned because they chose to ignite it. Your greatness does not need perfect conditions. It demands perfect. Think of Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in the belly of human darkness during the Holocaust. Stripped of every freedom, his family murdered, his future uncertain, and yet he declared that man can still choose his attitude in any circumstance. From the ashes of despair, he forged Man's Search for Meaning, a work that would transform psychology and prove to all who read it that meaning is not found in freedom from suffering, but in finding a reason within it. The man who has a why to live, he wrote, can bear almost any how. That is the spiritual core of neuroscience's latest revelations. The brain does not merely process meaning, it needs it, and when deprived, it revolts. Anxiety, depression, addiction, they do not merely arise from weakness, but often from a deeper starvation, a hunger for connection, for significance, for a life that matters. And when the soul is fed, the mind begins to heal. Purpose becomes not a luxury, but medicine. But you must understand, it is not one grand epiphany that gives your life meaning. It is not a single flash of lightning that makes the mountain move. It is decision layered upon decision. It is showing up when no one claps. It is working in the shadows, forging character in the dark. It is saying, this is who I am. This is why I am here. And no storm will turn me from this course. Look to Harriet Tubman. Frail in body, uneducated by the world's standards, hunted, threatened, and yet she said with unwavering certainty, I had reasoned this out in my mind. There was one of two things I had a right to, liberty or death. That clarity, that conviction, made her more powerful than any weapon, and she followed it with action. She moved, she led, she rescued. Her life was meaning embodied. You can do the same. You must. Start now, in this very hour. Ask yourself, what would I do if I believed my life mattered? What would I build, protect, create, teach, or heal if I trusted that I was meant to leave a mark? Then act upon the answer, no matter how small. Action turns thought into reality. Action transforms uncertainty into understanding. Your brain learns not just from reflection, but from motion. It builds new pathways when you move in new directions. Do not be discouraged by false starts. Every man who built a legacy first stumbled through confusion. What matters is that you keep building. The Taj Mahal was not erected in a day. The Sistine Chapel was not painted in a week, and neither will your life's purpose be fully clear on the first page of your story. But if you write daily with courage, your life becomes scripture to someone else, proof that meaning can be made real. And while you build, remember, you are not alone. The great minds of history stand behind you, the poets and prophets, the sages and scientists, the lovers of wisdom. They are your company now. You may draw from Emerson's call to self-reliance, Whitman's song of the open road, Tagore's luminous spirit, or Dostoevsky's fire of conscience. Their words were not for their time only. They were written for yours. You are the continuation of their spirit, and one day another soul, struggling, searching, will look to your life and find their own fire rekindled. This is your duty, your honor, your purpose, not merely to find meaning, but to live it daily, defiantly, gloriously. Your brain was made for it. Your heart demands it. Your soul will not rest until you answer. And so I say again, rise, begin, live as though your life matters, because it does, not by accident, but by design, not someday, but now. Now, my friend, go and prove it. Prove it in the silence of your morning, when the world is not yet stirred and your doubts still sleep. Prove it in your labor, not by shouting your worth, but by pouring excellence into every task, however unnoticed. Prove it when no one watches, when applause is absent and comfort beckons, and still you persist, not because it is easy, but because you have decided that this is the way a person of meaning walks. That is what separates the wandering from the awakened. It is not talent, nor fortune, nor luck. It is resolve, the resolve to rise when tired, to speak when afraid, to stand when others kneel to convenience. This resolve builds more than habits. It builds identity. Each act of alignment with your inner calling reinforces the neural circuits of self-belief. Your brain ceases to war against you and becomes your ally. Doubt is replaced by direction. Fear is replaced by focus. This is not poetry. It is psychology. The brain is a living mirror of your decisions, and purpose, once practiced daily, becomes a kind of biological momentum. Remember the story of Malala Yousafzai, shot for daring to seek knowledge? Yet she rose higher than the bullets could ever reach. Her purpose made her not immune to fear, but more powerful than it. And in her young life, she has moved more hearts than armies have moved borders. Why? Because she understood that even a single voice, when rooted in purpose, can shake the conscience of a world. Now ask yourself, what if your voice, your work, your gifts, your pain, your triumphs, your questions, what if they are needed to complete someone else's answer? What if you were never meant to live for yourself, but to serve as a bridge, a fire starter, a lighthouse for others still lost in fog? This is not a romantic notion. It is truth observed in every great life, from Gandhi to Galileo, from Florence Nightingale to Frederick Douglass. Each of them began with one burning question: what must I do with this life? Not what must I feel or receive or achieve, but do. Action, meaningful, sustained action, is the only evidence that purpose has taken root. So do not waste time waiting for clarity to arrive as if by lightning. It arrives as dawn does, gradually, steadily, quietly. And the light does not come from the sky alone. It comes from within you. Fan it with discipline. Feed it with courage. Guard it from cynicism, for the world will try to convince you that nothing matters. But those who say nothing matters have forgotten how to build. You are not here to join the chorus of complaint. You are here to sing a higher note. Read the ancient texts. They whisper the same truth. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, "It is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live in imitation of someone else's life with perfection." There lies the secret. You were never meant to follow the path of another. You were meant to blaze your own, even if your feet bleed and the road vanishes beneath you. Meaning is not given, it is created in the steps you dare to take. In the end, when the great balance sheet of your life is written, no man will care how many titles you held, how many possessions you counted, or how often others envied your appearance. They will ask, did you love deeply? Did you serve with your whole soul? Did you build something that will outlive your name? These are the questions of purpose. These are the answers written in your legacy. So live now in such a way that the very architecture of your brain becomes a testament to your courage. Let the footprints of your thoughts mark the landscapes of your neurons like sacred trails, carved by vision and sealed by action. You are not ordinary. You are not random. You are not here by accident. You are here to bring meaning into form. So bring it with all your might, bring it every day. And when you grow tired, and you will, let that tiredness be the kind that follows honest effort, not the fatigue of regret. You need no permission. The moment you were born, you were commissioned. Now rise and live your purpose into the world. Let it be written in your breath, your deeds, your fire. Let it be written in the lives you touch. Let it be written in your name, not as one who merely existed, but as one who meant something, because you chose to. And when you have chosen, do not look back. For the man who questions his decision after each step is not a seeker, he is a drifter, and the winds of life will toss him as easily as a leaf in a storm. Once you have declared your purpose, you must walk as if all of nature conspires to assist you, and indeed it will. Your mind, your body, your very surroundings begin to arrange themselves in service of the decision you have made. The subconscious mind, once passive, now becomes a silent architect, bending your perceptions, filtering your attention, and pointing you toward your aim. This is not mysticism. It is the reticular activating system at work, a small network of neurons in your brainstem that decides what enters your conscious mind. When you have a clearly defined purpose, this system begins to notice people, ideas, and opportunities that align with your goal. You are no longer asleep in the world. You are awake. And the awakened man is dangerous, for he is not easily swayed by trends or frightened by setbacks. He sees beyond the present chaos into the future order he is building. Take Thomas Edison, 10,000 failures, they say, before the electric light, 10,000 moments that would have convinced the average man to surrender. But Edison had a vision so vivid, so magnetic, that every failed filament became a lesson, not a defeat. His purpose fueled persistence, and his persistence changed the very rhythm of civilization. That is the power of a man consumed by meaning. His failures become stepping stones, his hardships sacred fire. And still, I tell you, it is not enough to know this. You must live it. Knowing that the brain changes through purposeful thought does nothing if you do not think purposefully. Knowing that action rewires identity is meaningless unless you act. The library of life is filled with men who knew much and did little. But the halls of legacy are reserved for those who did, those who built, who wrote, who healed, who stood, who spoke, who served. And they did so not when conditions were perfect, but when the need was great. So do not wait for a sign. You are the sign, the longing in your chest, the ache to do something greater. That is not random. It is the voice of destiny whispering, arise. It is the pulse of life asking, when? Look at the oak tree. The seed does not say the soil is too hard. It pushes, it climbs, it reaches toward light. It cannot yet see. That is what you must do. Push into the dark. Trust that the light will come. And as you grow, remember that no one grows alone. You are here not just to fulfill your own calling, but to awaken it in others. Be the one whose life speaks louder than his words. Be the one who inspires not through charisma, but through consistency. Be the one who walks into a room and makes people stand taller, not because you asked them to, but because your presence reminds them of who they could be. That, my friend, is meaning in motion. And when the hour comes, because it surely will, when fatigue whispers that the mountain is too high, when the results seem too slow and your strength feels too small, pause, but do not quit. Rest, then rise, and remember that every soul that ever did anything worthy was once right where you stand, alone, with a dream, facing doubt, walking uphill, but they walked, and so must you. For one day, the time will come when a younger voice will ask you, how did you find your way? And in that moment, you will not need to preach. You will only need to speak from the life you have lived, a life of meaning, a life that mattered, a life that dared. So let the world see it. Let the world feel it. Let the world be shaped by the fire you chose to light within yourself and never let die. This is your charge. This is your calling. Now go. The world waits for no man, but it remembers those who lived with purpose. And to be remembered not for what you owned, but for what you stood for. This is the crown of the purposeful man. This is the highest success, to have lived in such a way that your very being becomes a blueprint for those who follow. Do not be deceived. This crown is not handed to the loud, the famous, the fortunate. It is earned in silence, in solitude, in sacrifice. It is earned when you rise at dawn, not for applause, but because something within you demands that you build, that you become. And when others see no reward, you see meaning. When others quit, you go on, not out of pride, but out of promise. The promise you made to yourself when you first dared to believe that your life was meant for more. Keep that promise. For in that sacred contract between your soul and your vision, the very structure of your future is formed. History proves this. Literature sings of it. The soul of man has always found its highest expression not in comfort, but in commitment. Consider Helen Keller, blind, deaf, and yet illuminated with purpose. She could not see the world, but she moved it. She could not hear the world, but she spoke to it through the thunder of her deeds. How? Because she did not allow her limitations to define her direction. She found a reason, and the reason found a way. You too must find your reason, and when you do, make it your fortress. Your mind will try to wander. The world will try to distract you. Your fears will try to tame you, but you are not here to be tamed. You are here to be tested and then to rise. You are here to forge strength from struggle and to turn pain into purpose. When you study the brain, you find something astonishing. It is not fixed. It is not fated. It is plastic, malleable, adaptable. It reshapes itself around your repeated thoughts, your repeated actions, your repeated decisions. The man who chooses purpose today rewires the man he will be tomorrow. This is no metaphor. It is science. And it means this: you are not your past. You are not your failures. You are not what they said you were. You are what you decide to be, beginning this very moment. But the decision must be made with fire. Half decisions create half lives. You must decide with the finality of Caesar burning his ships. No return, no retreat, no plan B. The path of purpose is not lined with comforts. It is lined with clarity, with conviction, with the quiet certainty that you were born to do something specific, something sacred, and that to abandon it is to betray not only yourself, but every life that your obedience might one day inspire. So let this be the hour when you step into that sacred obligation, not as a burden, but as a blessing. For to live with purpose is to wake each day knowing why you draw breath. It is to work not from compulsion, but from calling. It is to meet hardship not with complaint, but with courage. And in doing so, you become not only a servant of your vision, but a creator of meaning itself. This is the invitation that psychology and neuroscience extend: to take the raw material of your brain, your history, your pain, your passions, and sculpt from it a life that matters. The instruments of the modern age may name the chemicals, trace the circuits, measure the patterns, but they only confirm what the ancients always knew. The man who lives with purpose changes everything he touches. So rise today as one who has remembered what others have forgotten, that you are here for a reason, that meaning is not found in seeking more, but in being more, that your brain, your heart, your soul all long to serve something higher. Serve it, build it, live it. And when your last day comes, as it surely will, may it find you not full of regrets, but of gratitude. May it find you empty because you gave all you had, because you became all you were meant to be. And those who see your life, even in passing, will say, not he existed, but he lived. And let that be the final aim, the truest reward, not the trophies of gold nor the fleeting applause of crowds, but the quiet, unwavering truth that you lived with intention, that you shaped your time on this earth like a master-carved stone, not hurriedly or haphazardly, but with vision and resolve. For the man who lives without purpose may breathe for decades and yet leave no trace. But the man who lives with purpose, he plants roots in eternity. This is the great paradox of meeting. It is both deeply personal and profoundly communal. You discover it in solitude, but you fulfill it in service. Your calling is never just about you. It is about what you unlock in others through your courage to act. Consider the life of Nelson Mandela, a man who spent 27 years in prison and emerged not embittered but empowered. He did not pursue revenge. He pursued reconciliation, and in doing so, he elevated a nation. His purpose was not chained by circumstance, it was revealed by it. What this means, my friend, is that your obstacles are not detours from purpose. They are the raw material of it. The wound becomes the work. The failure becomes the foundation. The betrayal becomes the beginning of wisdom. Every soul that ever fulfilled its higher calling walked first through fire. The difference is that they did not stop in the flames. They walked through them and came out forged. And you, yes, you have the same capacity, not because of your birthright, your education, or your credentials, but because you possess within you the single unbreakable tool that all the greats have used, the will to persist with meaning. You may have been told that you are too late, too old, too young, too flawed, but purpose does not consult calendars. It listens only to the voice of decision. The moment you decide, truly and irrevocably, to live your life with purpose, you enter into a covenant with destiny. And from that moment, the universe bends toward your decision. But hear me now. The path of purpose will not always be praised. It will often be mocked, misunderstood, even resisted. That is because it makes others uncomfortable. It reminds them of what they have not yet dared to do. But do not let their shadows dim your flame. Press forward, and when you tire, do not retreat. Return. Return to your why. Return to the vision. Return to the promise you made to your future self. Even the prophets, the saints, the inventors and philosophers, all of them had moments of despair, but they did not stay there. They remembered that despair is the birthplace of revelation. From the depths of disillusionment, the greatest truths are born. Dante walked through hell before he could write a paradise. So too must you journey through doubt before you will hold certainty in your hands. And yet the certainty does come, slowly at first, then suddenly. It comes when your actions and your essence begin to align, when your days reflect your deepest beliefs, when you no longer perform a life but live one. And in that alignment there is peace. Not the peace of passivity, but the peace of power, of presence, of knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be, doing exactly what you are meant to do. So keep building, keep speaking, keep reaching, and know that even when no one is watching, your work is not in vain. The seed does not bloom in the season it is planted, but bloom it will if you remain faithful. For the greatest tragedy is not to fail. The greatest tragedy is to succeed at something that never truly mattered. Do not let that be your story. Let yours be the story of the man who looked into the mirror one morning and said, No more drifting. No more waiting. From this day forward, I live with purpose. And then he did. He did not ask for guarantees. He asked for grace. He did not ask for ease. He asked for strength. He did not wait for the path to appear. He built the path with his own hands. Let that be you. And if ever you doubt again, remember this. The greatest minds that have ever walked this earth, the souls who moved nations and lifted generations, the ones whose names still echo across centuries, they were once unknown, uncertain, unfinished, but they chose to live with meaning, and that choice made them immortal. So choose, go, live. And if you shall live, then live fully, live deeply, live with the unshakable conviction that your life is a tool in the hands of something greater than chance. For you were not born to consume, to mimic, or to merely exist. You were born to create, and creation, my friend, is the highest proof of purpose in motion. The sculptor with his chisel, the teacher with her wisdom, the farmer with his seed, all participate in the sacred act of shaping the world. And so must you. But do not mistake movement for meaning. The world is full of men running fast in circles, chasing applause, chasing vanity, chasing shadows. They are exhausted, not from effort, but from emptiness. You will know the difference the moment you choose to chase something real. You will feel the quiet energy rise in your chest, not the rush of adrenaline, but the still force of destiny settling into place. You are no longer distracted. You are aligned. Alignment is everything. A man out of alignment may win the world and lose his soul. A man in alignment may face trial after trial and yet sleep with peace on his pillow. Consider Viktor Frankl, who in the darkest hell of Auschwitz found that even in a death camp, man could choose meaning. He could not choose his captors, nor his suffering, nor the cruelty of the world, but he could choose his response. And in that choice, he discovered the key to human purpose. Those who have a why to live, he said, quoting Nietzsche, can bear almost any how. And what is your why? Have you dared to name it? Have you carved it into the stone of your decisions? For until you do, your energy will scatter, your mind will wander, and your spirit will drift. But when you declare it, when you write it on your heart and speak it with your life, everything changes. The same wind that once tossed you now carries you. The storms become your proving ground, and your setbacks become sermons. Even your biology begins to serve you. The frontal lobe, the seat of reason, planning, and vision, wakes up with clarity. The amygdala, home to fear, grows quiet in the face of determined action. The neurochemicals of reward, dopamine and serotonin, flow not from distraction, but from direction. Your body becomes the vessel of your vow. Every breath, every step, every word, a movement toward meaning. But you must return to that vow again and again. Purpose is not a one-time decision. It is a daily declaration, a recommitment in the face of comfort, a rebirth in the furnace of resistance. Because the world will try to make you forget. It will tempt you with shortcuts, flatter you with half-truths, and whisper that comfort is enough. But comfort is the enemy of greatness. Ease is the seduction of the unfulfilled, and you were not made for ease. You were made to matter. And those who matter most are rarely the loudest. They are the consistent, the courageous, the quiet warriors who show up when it's hard, who keep going when it's dark, and who speak light into places where others have given up. You have seen them. Perhaps you are one, and if you are not yet, then become one. It is not too late. Let your bookshelf be your mentor. Let the lives of the greats be your blueprint. From Marcus Aurelius with his stoic calm, to Maya Angelou with her blazing truth, from Leonardo da Vinci with his insatiable curiosity, to Harriet Tubman with her unbreakable will. Each of them held to a purpose stronger than fear. Each of them was told, "You can't," and each of them answered with action. So what will you do? The clock is ticking, but it is not your enemy. It is your invitation. Every second is a door. Every morning, a blank page. Write something on it worth remembering. Speak something into it that echoes beyond your life. Build something in it that others may rest upon. That is legacy. That is meaning. And when you rise tomorrow, do not ask the world what it needs. Ask instead, what sets my soul on fire? For what the world needs most is men who are alive with purpose, men who have lit their own flame and now walk as beacons. You must become one of them, not for applause, not for wealth, but because something inside you knows you were made to lead, to lift, to shape, to live with meaning. And when the dust settles on your days and your time here draws to its close, may your last thought not be regret, but gratitude. Gratitude that you answered the call. Gratitude that you showed up for your life. Gratitude that you became who you were meant to be. For in the end, that is the highest success a man can know. And should your name never find its way into the annals of history, let it find its place etched in the hearts of those whose lives you touched, not with grandeur, but with presence, not with speeches, but with consistency, not with noise, but with depth. For the man who lives with meaning does not chase legacy, he creates it. Each silent act of integrity, each word spoken with intention, each moment lived as if it matters, because it does. You must remember, meaning is not something found by chance. It is something forged under pressure, in solitude, in discipline. The same way the diamond is born from the crushing weight of the earth, your purpose emerges through the force of commitment. The fleeting desires of the masses will pull at you. The world will beg you to dilute your fire, to choose safety over soul. But the world does not need more of the same. It needs men who have the courage to burn. Think of Frederick Douglass, born into slavery and forbidden to read, but he read anyway. He wrote, he spoke, he rose, and he turned the weight of his chains into the strength of his message. He was not free in body, but he was free in mind. And because he chose meaning over resentment, purpose over passivity, he shook the conscience of a nation. This is what it means to live a life of purpose, to live not to escape hardship, but to transform it, not to seek ease, but to seek impact, to awaken each day and declare, here I am, I will not drift, I will not bow, I will live with fire. And if ever you wonder whether it is too late, whether you are too broken or too tired or too far behind, remember the story of Colonel Sanders, who began Kentucky Fried Chicken with a Social Security check in his 60s, or Grandma Moses, who did not pick up a paintbrush until her 70s. They did not let the world's timeline dictate their truth. They let purpose lead, and in doing so, they changed the landscape of what is possible. The mind may say, wait. The world may say, why bother? But the soul whispers, now, begin. And you must listen to that whisper, for it carries the echoes of your highest self, the self who is not limited by fear, the self who remembers what you were born to do. That voice will not shout. It will not demand. It will invite. And you must choose to accept. For when you do, when you truly surrender to purpose, you step into a different kind of life, a life where fear becomes a compass, not a cage. A life where the past no longer defines you, but refines you. A life where every action you take is a brick in the cathedral of your calling. You may not see its full structure in your lifetime, but you will know deep in your bones that you helped lay the foundation. And what greater gift can a man offer than that? To be the spark in someone's darkness. To be the example that wakes another from slumber. To be the voice that says, yes, you can rise. And so I say it now to you. Yes, you can rise. Rise from fear. Rise from failure. Rise from distraction, from doubt, from delay. Rise and build a life that matters. Let your days be prayers in motion. Let your work be worship. Let your actions proclaim that you lived not because it was easy, but because it was right. And when the day comes, and it will, when your last breath meets the silence of eternity, may you go, not with regret, but with the peace that only comes from purpose fulfilled. For in that moment, it will not be your possessions that speak for you. It will not be your titles or trophies. It will be your testimony written in the lives you changed, the truth you lived, and the meaning you gave to every step you took. That, my friend, is immortality, not in stone, not in gold, but in the soul. And it begins now with one choice, one word, one step toward meaning. And as you take that step, perhaps trembling, perhaps uncertain, know this, you do not walk alone. Every man who ever transformed his life, who ever moved the needle of human progress, began just as you do now, with a quiet decision, with a refusal to remain idle, with a voice inside that said, I was made for more than this. That voice is not illusion, it is instruction. It is the compass of your deepest truth, the signature of something eternal pressing its mark into your momentary form. Let that voice be louder than your fears. Let it silence the chorus of delay, of doubt, of disapproval. For the greatest tragedy is not to fall, it is to never have climbed. Look around you. How many walk this earth as living ghosts, buried not beneath soil, but beneath routine? They have abandoned the fire of childhood wonder for the ashes of adult resignation. But you are different, or you can be. The choice is always yours, not once, but daily. Purpose, you see, is not a destination. It is a devotion. It is not discovered, it is chosen, refined, recommitted to. Like the blacksmith who hammers his blade into shape, you must hammer your soul with action, persistence, and love until it gleams with clarity. The men who shape the world, be it with words or revolutions, with art or acts of quiet defiance, did not wait for permission. They did not ask whether they were ready. They acted, and their action revealed readiness. Consider the poet Rainer Maria Rilke, who wrote, "The only journey is the one within," or the rebel monk Martin Luther, who nailed his convictions to a church door and split history in two. They were not born immune to fear. They simply learned to honor something greater than fear. And so must you. Let the ancient philosophers walk with you. Let Marcus Aurelius remind you that death comes for us all, and so the only question that matters is what will you do while you live? Let Emerson whisper in your ear that the world makes way for the man who knows where he is going. Let Tolstoy's Ivan Ilyich haunt you, who realized too late that he had lived by others' expectations, never his own soul. You must not live that way. Instead, be the man who meets the dawn with resolve, who greets adversity not as a threat, but as an ally, an invitation to grow. Be the man whose word is iron, whose walk is steady, whose life becomes a quiet revolution against mediocrity. That man is not built in an instant, but through countless choices. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you add a stone to the temple of meaning. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you set fire to the old limitations. And over time, day by day, step by step, a transformation occurs. The man who once doubted becomes the man others look to for strength. The man who once waited becomes the one who moves. The one who once drifted becomes a lighthouse in the fog. But you must begin, and you must continue even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. For the path of purpose is not paved with applause, but with sweat. You will lose sleep. You will be misunderstood. You will question yourself. But hold the vision. Hold the fire. For on the other side of resistance is not just reward, it is revelation. You will come to know yourself not as the world sees you, but as you were meant to be. And when you reach that summit, when you can finally look back upon your journey with clarity, you will not wish for more comfort. You will not wish you had avoided the pain. You will thank the pain. You will bless the difficulty, because they were the hands that carved your greatness. So rise, rise with the certainty that your life is not an accident, that every moment you have lived was preparing you for this very hour. The decision is yours, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Live with meaning, work with fire, love with depth, serve with strength, and die with no apologies, no regrets, only the smile of a man who gave everything he had. That is the life of purpose. That is the life worth living. And that, my brother, is the only true success.